live. Well, sure is an intelligent, original opening statement, isn't it? Hey, if you want to give me a call, all you got to do is dial 877-207-2276. I want to hear from you. Give me a call. Today is a nice Friday. Whew, busy day for me, and we'll probably jump into some hate mail here a little bit because I like hate mail. For those of you who might be new to the show, sometimes I read people's emails to me on how much they dislike me, want to condemn me. In fact, I was reading some comments on one of the debates I had by some people, and you can tell who is just lacking objectivity and just is full of hatred and stuff like that. And it happens. When I tackle people's cults and stuff like that. So, hey, look, five open lines. Give me a call, 877-207-2276. Let's see. I'm going to get into, let's get some hate mail because I like that. And while we're waiting for the callers to come in, Fridays are often slow. And yeah, the sound should be good. It sounds good. You can hear me? Okay, good. Just making sure. And if you want to watch, and you can participate in the chat too, you can just go to carm.org, carm.org, and on the homepage on the right-hand side, you'll see a picture of me. And you click it, and you can go into Matchlick Live. You can participate here in the chat. Of course, some people think the show just goes out over the internet. No, it goes out over radio stations as well on the East Coast, mainly. Also in Ohio and in Utah. So there you go. If you want to give me a call, 877-207-2276. Let's see. Get some hate mail here. Uh, all right. Inhabitants around the world. You know, when you have an email that's addressed to the inhabitants around the world, that has got to be a huge email list. Because what this guy did is he just emailed me about the inhabitants around the world. That's who it's to. So I don't know if he's emailed everybody on the planet who has an email address. I don't know, because after all, what he says, it's inhabitants around the world. If you receive this email along with the attached PDF letter, then you are one of the lucky ones who've been summoned to the content within. This is not a call for you to defend your religion or to test your superb knowledge pertaining to the holy things regarding the heavenly creator. When you read some of this stuff, a lot of times I get taken aback by the self-deception of what's going on with people and the incredible arrogance that they often portray themselves to have. They have the knowledge to the entire world that's from God, and they believe this stuff. I get emails like this on a pretty regular basis. Anyway, but have you noticed there are thousands times thousands of differing places of worship around the world, with millions of spiritual leaders contrasting millions of other spiritual leaders concerning the only true living creator? Yeah, you see, I just say that this individual does not have all his paws in the litter box. All right, all right, all right, all right. Let's see. Mhm, mhm. Oh yeah, and this about lost books in the Bible. Who says they're lost? And this person says that he or she runs a particular ministry, and I'm living out some of the lost books. What troubles me is that they may negate the triune one by bringing in a mother goddess. I don't know. I'm looking for good insults. I've listened to your interview. Oh, yeah. We talked about this with Paul Young, the book, The Shack. Heresy book. It was so bad. Uh, okay, so here's an email. My wife actually got involved with this one. Let me see. Uh, Are you people kidding? I've never seen anything so far off base as your ridiculous critique of The Shack. To say that the author book endorses universalism is outright deceit. No, it's not. He said so. He said God forgave every one of their sins. Everybody. That's universalism. The very quote used contradicts your assertion. Oh boy. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Maybe you need to ask yourself why this book is having such an amazing and positive impact on many in your lives. Oh, I've asked myself. It's because people can't discern truth from error. That's why. Why and how is God using it to bring many people healing and deliverance from performance-based Christianity? Whatever. So my wife actually wrote back, "Dear Mr. So-and-so, appreciate your email. Matt will be responding to it this Friday on his radio program because it's Hate Mail Friday in his service." And then he wrote back, "Nice. So everyone who disagrees with you or your website is a hater." I expected as much. That's a very worn out and immature way to reply. This, wow. Why doesn't it surprise me that okay, let me try it again. Why doesn't it surprise me that name calling is one of your methods? Honestly, makes me wonder if your organization is even Christian or not. If you are, you should think twice about trying to divide the body of Christ. The so-called apologetics in your site regarding the shack is woefully inept, in my opinion. I'd be happy to discuss these issues anytime with any of you, man to man. Ooh, I like that. My guess is that you'll take pot shots at my email on the radio. Oh, sorry. Well, this is from a few years ago, so it's old. All right, let's see. Uh, ooh, go to Mormon.org. You have heard the voice. Man, what voice? The voice of demons? What? I don't know. My name is so and so. I'm a Wiccan. I would like to point out there are no demonic forces involved, as you put it. Secondly, the dreams, etc., have nothing to do with Wicca. It is against Wiccan law to harm another or influence them against their will. Wiccans are healers, teachers, and protectors. I would also like to point out that your Christian holidays are based around the times of pagan holidays. I have nothing against Christianity. Uh, it irritates me that high degree when we see Wicca being used to explain someone's bad luck. Yes. Yeah, I did a lot of research on Wicca years ago, and it was really interesting because Wicca is a form of witchcraft. Now they're going to say no, it's not, but it is, and they do spells, which is a form of witchcraft. And they say their creed is to harm none, but do you as you will and harm none. Of course, they don't define what harm is. Uh, and so the demonic forces are, of course, very satisfied with Wicca because they've got these people in Wicca deceived, thinking that they're doing good and they're not harming anybody while they're believing in gods and goddesses. And in Wicca, you can actually, this is real, you can actually make up a god or goddess that you want to serve. And that's okay. And I remember talking to some Wiccans about this and saying, wait a minute, are you telling me you can just create your own god or goddess? They said, this woman said, yes. I said, but that isn't, how's it real? You know, I was really dumbfounded. She goes, well, it's real to us and that's all that matters. Like, what are you thinking? You know, it's like, you know, you're on a street, you're driving down the road and it's a red light and I say, well, no, it's green light because all that matters is what you think it is. It was just it was I remember that conversation. It was dumbfounding to me that someone would actually admit to making up a god or a goddess and that it was okay. And this person said others did it inside of Wicca. Wow. And so I found that to be most perplexing. In fact, that reminds me, back in seminary, I use this analogy of the stoplights with this guy. But back in seminary, we had to do reports and stuff like that. And in one of the classes, uh, I did a report on the New Age movement because it was pretty much alive and well at the time. And I was living in Escondido, California. And so I interviewed a New Age shop owner. And I contacted him and said, look, I'm not here to debate you. I'm in seminary and doing a report, and you'd have firsthand quotes and things like that. Would you be willing to have a discussion with me? I'm not going to take anything out of context. You know, he said, sure, come on down. So we talked for a couple of hours, and I took a lot of notes and didn't have a laptop at the time. You had to use, back in the early 90s, you know, 1990, you had to use this thing called a pen and this other thing called paper. And you would use a flat surface, put the paper on it, and then write with this instrument thing called a pen. I think I used a pencil, and which means it's erasable. So if you make a mistake, see, I don't know if people are up on that, but that's what we had to use back then. So I sat with this guy in his shop, and I think only one or two people came in, and it only lasted a few minutes, but we had a really good discussion. And I asked him all kinds of stuff about the New Age philosophy and thought. Had a lot of good quotes. I said, "Thank you very much." And said, "Okay, well, I'm on my way." And he said, "Hey, before you go, can I ask you some questions?" I said, "Sure." And he said, "Well, what do you think about what I told you?" And I said, "Well, um, I can tell you, but and if you want me to, I will. But remember, I offered just to come in and just ask questions, not to debate you, but I'm trying to be polite. But if you want me to respond, and you say go for it, I will. I'll tell you." And he says, "Yeah, go ahead." I said, "Okay." I said, "The problem with your theology is it's not based in reality, and it's non-falsifiable. So there's a principle. I'll explain what this is: non-falsifiability. That means that, for example, when Heaven's Gate, the Applegate, Heaven's Gate group, Applegate was the name of the guy, the leader, and about 40 people killed themselves with poison back in San Diego. I used to live in San Diego, so I got interviewed on TV about it down there. And they killed each other, or they killed themselves with poison ritualistically. And the theology was non-falsifiable. The theology was that the Hale-Bopp comet was coming, and on the far side of the Hale-Bopp comet was a UFO. And you needed to kill yourself so that the people in the UFO would come and get your souls and take you to the next realm or world or planet. So you see, it's non-falsifiable. You can't prove it to be false. It's non-falsifiable. You couldn't go out to the opposite side of that comet and look and say, "Hey, there is no spaceship." And even if you could, they'd say, "Well, it's invisible." And so it's called non-falsifiability. And generally speaking, things that are non-falsifiable don't rest in reality. Okay? All right. Now, so I said to him, I said, "Your view is non-falsifiable, which means it can't be demonstrated to be true or false. And the reason is because it has no connections to actuality that it can be verified." And I said, "What you're talking here about is creating your own reality in your mind. And then you behave as though that's true." I said, "But you don't." I said, "For example, if you and I were driving in a car, and I was driving, and I said, green lights are red and red lights are green because that's what I believe. That's the reality I'm creating." Which I said, "Would you want to drive with me?" And he said, "Well, no." I said, "Yeah, because it'd be dangerous. Because even though I believe something, it doesn't work in reality." I said, "Your view only rests in reality and only is possible because of reality." What I mean by that is not that it's real, but you could believe that there's the ethereal conscious of the Christ unity thing, and it's not falsifiable or detectable. And as long as everything in the physical world works regularly, you can believe this thing, which has no basis in reality. And so you think it's true. I said, "That's a problem with your view." And he said, "Thanks." And that was it. Hey, folks, 3 open lines, 877-207-2276. Be right back.
Mama, what does the chicken say? Dog. Cat. Giraffe.
Giraffe, really? Giraffe.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right.
Visit NHTSA.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Emergency medical unit, respond to 102 Maple Avenue, possible stroke victim.
When stroke occurs, you have 60 minutes to win or lose the race of your life. There are new treatments, but you must get to a hospital fast. If you suddenly feel weakness on one side, have trouble speaking, walking, or seeing, it could be a stroke. Call 911. Get to a hospital. Because how you spend the next 60 minutes could determine how you spend the rest of your life. Stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. A message from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke.
We live in an on-demand world. Time, weather, meals, and content. That's why the Truth Network has the Truth Podcast Network. Some of your favorite Truth Network programs, plus some that are podcast only. Rich content that is rich in the Word.
The Masculine Journeys Joyride Podcast. Authentic moments of truth and laughter with the guys of the masculine journey. You'll learn and laugh and even be touched. A greater understanding of Christ is only a joyride away. The Masculine Journey Joyride Podcast at truthnetwork.com.
Children in poverty, each one unique, each one full of dreams. They're our hope, our future. They're the reason Children International exists. When the whole world changed, we developed new ways to reach children and families in poverty during these vulnerable times.
I'm learning every day.
I'm healthy and strong.
To learn more, go to children.org/help today.
I taught for 20 years, until I started forgetting my lectures.
Eventually, he had to quit. Getting his early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard, but it gave us time to take control of the situation together.
I can't imagine going through this without him.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
If I could be you,
And you could be me for just 1 hour.
if you could find a way,
To get inside
Each other's mind.
walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out, and for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick. Everybody, welcome to the show.
All right. Let's see, that would be Ryan from Pennsylvania. Ryan, welcome. You're on the air.
Thank you very much. I was just listening to you talk about the non-falsifiability of New Age.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to thank you for inviting me to call.
Okay.
I was wondering, what is the criteria for falsifiability of the presuppositional argument for God?
It is not falsifiable.
It's not falsifiable. Not falsifiable.
Right, it's not falsifiable. You can't prove that.
Okay, then it falls to the same critique you just gave to the New Age.
But you see, God himself is the ultimate. He's the terminus of all things. You can't falsify his existence. In the presuppositional view, you assume the validity of the truth of God's word, and you demonstrate that everything works because of the presuppositional approach. You can't falsify God and demonstrate that he doesn't exist.
Well, but you can falsify the proof that you're trying to use in the tag argument. That's easy.
In the tag argument?
Sure.
I think you just jumped ship a little bit here, but so how do you falsify the tag argument?
Sure, of course. Easily.
Okay. How do you do that?
Would you like to know how?
Yeah, I'm asking how.
By showing that, the criteria that you use for what you call the foundations of intelligibility are just as easily justifiable outside of the Christian worldview as they are inside the Christian worldview. By showing that the laws of logic that you talk about, they vary in meaning and structure, that they are not absolute, they are not unchanging, and that the notion of worldview that you use.
So, like the law of logic, the law of identity, something is what it is and is not what it is not. Does that change?
I'm sorry, you blacked out for a second. Could
Sure.
you please repeat that?
The law of identity in classical laws of logic, something is what it is and is not what it is not. Does that ever change?
Okay, first of all, yes, it does change. By the way, they are defined within certain logical systems, and they're defined differently within different logical systems.
But we're talking about,
So
like
it
I
does
said,
vary.
the laws, classical laws, the law of identity. You're saying yes, the law of identity within that context changes. Now you gotta understand, a fact is never independent. Facts always exist in a context, and the context always has a causal chain. And so we don't want to say that any fact is autonomous, because then we would have multiple ultimates. This is problematic. But nevertheless, in the classical laws of logic, the law of identity, something is what it is and is not what is not. You're saying within that context, it changes?
I'm saying that the so-called classical laws of logic are no longer applicable to this sort of discussion, because logic has expanded in its understanding, and the classical laws of logic occupy a smaller and smaller portion of the universe of logic. And outside of the classical laws of logic, the laws of identity change, and the laws of contradiction change, and
So
the
then
laws of
let's stick with the law of identity. So then there are times when something that exists isn't what it is?
Okay, first of all, logic does not, according to your own definition, logic does not deal in objects. It deals in statements about objects. So when you're saying something is what it is, that's not a logical statement.
Yes,
you
it
say that
is.
A is identical to A.
Yeah, that's the first law of logic. Yeah, A equals A, and the second is A, not B. So, or A or not A.
Not A is equal.
Right, but to see in the law of identity, it's just something is what it is. Are you saying there's times when it's not true that something is what it is? And are you saying what? Doesn't make any sense.
Okay, first of all, you're using the wrong terminology.
Oh, I am, huh?
To say that something is what it is not a logical statement. To say that A is identical to A is a logical statement. Not an object is what it is. It does not deal in objects. It deals in statements about objects. It describes objects. Okay. That's what logic deals in.
Really?
If it's a dog, then it's a mammal. That is a statement about dogs and mammals. And it's a statement about the relationship of dogs and animals. Okay. You are using the wrong terminology. This is not what logic deals in. It deals in statements.
So, but I affirm that the law of identity is that something is what it is. It's identical with its own self, its own nature. Isn't that what it is?
Okay. Well, you're not using a logical statement at all. Okay.
Really?
And so when you're dealing in logic and you're dealing in identity, the logical statement is A is identical to A. Okay. Not A is equal to A. That's a mathematical statement. But A is identical to A. Not something is what it is and not what it's not. That is not a logical statement. So first of all, again, the classical laws of logic.
So hold on. So, but would you agree that everything that exists has a nature?
Sure.
Okay. Is that nature concomitant with its identity?
It could be to a certain degree, sure.
Okay, so its identity and its nature are one and the same thing. So something that exists has a nature, and so that nature is consistent with itself, the law of identity.
Well, first of all, you're again confusing some terms. If I take an apple and I say A is an apple, okay, and 5 minutes later it's going to deteriorate. So yes, it's still an apple, but it's not the same apple to the same degree. So you have a logic of degree that you must also account for. It's identical to itself within a certain time of framework. It's going to deteriorate and become identical with something else afterward. So when you say A is identical to A right now.
Yes, because that has a property of change within it. In logic, the law of identity is the first of the three classical laws of thought. You know that, right?
Right.
And so
we're no longer limited to the classical laws.
Okay. So each thing, I'm talking about the classical laws and the law of identity. So each thing is the same thing with itself, and it's different from another thing, right?
Well, now you're going into a different category. When you're talking about something identical to itself, it's identical to itself within a given time framework. Okay. If you're going to talk about that its nature is different from something else, you're talking about comparing it to something else. If you say A is identical to A, that's different than saying that A is identical to B.
Well, the thing is,
are not identical to B.
The thing is, I've been reading off of different websites while I'm talking to you. Importanceofphilosophy.com. I was reading off of that. Definitions.net, the law of identity. So I'm just reading these things, and you're disagreeing with them. See, I figured you wouldn't agree with me, what I said. And so now even the experts you disagree with. So I have a problem with
Well,
your
here's the
credibility at
thing.
this point.
Well, here's the thing. Within modal logic, you can have necessary identity, you can have possible identity, you can have compatible identity, you can have contingent identity. So the laws of identity varies within the logical system that you're using. It also varies within free logic. It
Yeah,
also varies within temporal
we
logic.
got a break coming up. You've not falsified anything. I'm sorry, but you haven't.
Yes, I have.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't.
Because the law of identity.
No, you haven't. We're going to go. But there's stuff. He's not falsified anything. He's just confused about what the law of identity is. It often happens with people. I have to teach them what it is. Hey, folks, 4 open lines, 877-207-2276. We'll be right back.
What does it mean to walk with God?
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, Last Words of Jesus.
One of the godliest men in the Bible was Enoch. We meet him in Genesis 5. We meet him in Hebrews 11. We meet him in Jude, verse 10. But who was Enoch? And why doesn't it describe him as being a man who tried to be like God, a man who followed the rules, a man who tried to do to please God? No, it says this. Enoch walked with God. Hebrews 11 says he pleased God. This was a man who, in Jude, preached for God to an evil culture. What was the difference about Enoch? He walked with God, and he was not. God took him. What a great picture. Are you out there trying to be godly and do godly things and do righteous things? Or are you walking with God? Get with God. You'll never be the same.
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, Last Words of Jesus. Available now in bookstores. Learn more at lastwordsofjesus.com.
The mission of Paralyzed Veterans of America is clear. Accessibility. Veterans who have served and sacrificed the best of themselves deserve access to the best our country has to offer. Access to meaningful employment. Access to the veterans' benefits they've earned. Accessible homes and vehicles. And access to every part of their communities. With PVA staff working inside VA hospitals, no other veterans organization has provided more real-time, ongoing support for paralyzed veterans and their families. PVA is proud to serve veterans across all branches, all generations, and all conflicts. Our nation's heroes fought for your independence. Join PVA in fighting for theirs at pva.org.
There are places with people in this world that are without any hope. That is, until Mercy Ships arrives. Mercy Ships is a place restoring sight to the blind, help to the outcast, and love to the brokenhearted. Mercy Ships brings love to the lost and forgotten. To learn more, go to mercyships.org.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait. It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
Everybody, welcome to the show. If you want to give me a call, all you got to do is dial 877-207-2276. All right, let's get to Casey from North Carolina. Casey, welcome. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. I want a question about the complete Jewish Bible, but that guy with the logic kind of piqued my interest also.
Okay, we could switch if you want and talk about that. So what do you got?
Well, if he's talking about logic, I mean, the Big Bang Theory basically proved that there was a beginning to the universe.
Yeah.
So it had to come from nothing.
Right.
So nothing can't create
Well.
something.
No, it can't be the case that the universe came from nothing, in that nothing is nothing. There's no attribution, so something had to cause it. I think that's what you mean, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
There had to be a cause.
Yes, okay.
and it's not. Yeah, it's not what Big Bang Theory theorizes. It has to be something supernatural. So I mean, if you start talking about logic, it might not prove Christianity, but it proves that we're here and everything else is here.
Yeah, ultimately, logic presupposes it can only be based in the true Trinitarian God. And the reason is because things have a causal chain. So I'm going to try this with you and listeners to see how this sounds, because I always work on new ideas. And here's a new idea I've come up with to illustrate something. Let's say you have a mountain, and this mountain is, it potentially could be infinitely high. It doesn't matter. This is a thought experiment. And you take a rock way up there and you push it, and it rolls down a little bit and hits two more rocks. Those two hit two more each. Those four hit, two more. You have 8. So it goes 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, etc. And the further down it goes, the wider the events are, the more there are. It's like a triangle with parallel lines that go out. And this is an illustration of one event that leads to other events. And I know of no instance where a single event only causes one single other event. I don't know if it exists, but I'm not aware of any. I've researched it a little bit and just haven't found anything. So one rock hits the dirt and moves the air. And so there's other things that are affected by a movement. And heat exchange and things like this. It's never by itself. So the point is that events have an increasing number of interrelated things that they affect. The further down the mountain you go, the further down time you go, and the further down you go, the more events are the result of that single initial event. Well, the thing is, that's an illustration to see the further down you go in time, the more events have occurred. Well, if you go backwards in time, necessarily the triangle has to come to a point. There has to be a single uncaused cause. There has to be a single event that brings everything in. What is the single event? And this illustration is to suggest that all facts, all actualities exist in a broader context inside of a causal chain, that facts don't exist independently of other facts, of other contexts, because if they did, then they would be eternal, because they would be non-contingent. And you can't have multiple eternal facts, because then each one of them becomes their own ultimate. And when you have multiple ultimates, you have nothing that you can ground in any ultimate beginning or truth. If this makes sense. I don't know if it does or not.
Sure,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the intelligent design argument, that not only do you have an uncaused cause, but yet this supposed explosion of everything becomes orderly.
Yeah, well, there's other concepts, but the point is that what I'm trying to explain is that everything is related to a single uncaused cause. So what we're doing is we're down in that mountain a few miles down, and everywhere we look, there are events all around us. And we walk up the hill to go back in time, and the more back in time we go, the narrower the field goes and the fewer events there are, until we get to the point where there's only one, that first rock, that first movement. And so that's the idea, that the initial rock represents the ultimate, the cause, the terminus. Well, okay, so that's just an illustration. When we get to the issue of the universe and causation, there's only two causes of something, impersonal or personal. And it's called the law of disjunctive syllogism, when you only have two options. And there are only two, God or not God, the personal or impersonal. You only have two, and one's negated, then the other one is verified. It's called impossibility of the contrary. So if you can demonstrate that an impossible cause, that an impersonal cause can't bring the universe into existence, for example, then if that's falsified, it can't be shown to be logically true, then the other one is automatically verified. And so that's one of the ways of using that God must exist. And then we get into, from there, I go into universals and particulars. and demonstrate that the Trinity is the necessary precondition for universals in particulars. That's another topic. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was just interesting listening to that previous call.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how he's kind of starting in the middle.
Yeah. And
or somewhere after the cause.
yes. And what I was saying was, in the classical laws of logic, I did it on purpose because atheists will often talk to me and say, well, there's other laws of logic. And I'll say, okay, other laws of logic, but we're talking about the classical laws. And they say, but there's other laws. I said, well, they'll have their day in court. In the classical laws, and I always pick the first one, something is what it is, it's not what it's not. That's A equals A. Is it true? And this guy was saying sometimes. Well, it doesn't make any sense to say sometimes, because in the context of that first law, it's in the classical laws, something that exists is what it is itself. It just is what it is. I mean, to deny that is just irrational. And so then we think that some philosophers think that the other laws, law of non-contradiction, law of excluded middle, proper inference, are derived out of the primary law, the law of identity. And so then we get into some other issues. But yeah, I've had lots of conversations like this with people over the years. I enjoy it, but I don't want to kill people on the radio who don't understand what's going on, because it takes a bit of linguistic and logical training. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that.
Sure. So, yeah. Okay. Anyway, your question was about the Jewish Bible, I think it was.
Yeah, there's a complete Jewish Bible version I was starting to look into, and I was just wondering if you had heard of it or looked at it at all.
I don't know what it is. The complete Jewish Bible. I'd have to look it up. Yeah. Read the complete Jewish Bible free online. Oh, interesting. Look at the complete Jewish. It's a CJB. Hey, I didn't even know that. So let's see. Does it have? Oh, it has Romans. Okay. Open. Real news. That way. That. Come on. How do you close that? Let's see. I'm going to go and check the verse I always go to. Romans 5:18. Let's see what they say. In other words, just as it was through one offense that all people came under condemnation, so it is through one righteous act all people come to be considered righteous. Not a very good translation. Let's see. What do they do with John 8:58? Let's see. John 8. I'm doing this real time here. We got nobody waiting, so I can talk to you and talk while I'm doing this. John 58, Yeshua said to them, yes, indeed, before Avraham came into being, I am. That always bothers me, Yeshua. Now, I understand what they're doing. They're saying you're replacing Jesus with Yeshua. But when you look at the Greek text, and it says Jesus, Jesus, that word, Jesus, is 2424 in the Strongs. Oh, interesting. I didn't know you could do that. Oh, how about that? It occurs 914 times in the New Testament. And now some people think that the early Gospels were written in Aramaic or maybe even Hebrew. And so his name would have been Yeshua. But the later epistles are written in Greek, and because they're written to the Greeks, I love Greek cultures and things like that. And the Greek word is Jesus. And so I have a problem when people take a little bit too much liberty, in my opinion, with a text. And they say Yeshua said to them, and no, it should be Jesus, because that's what the Greek says, and they're changing it. And I have a problem with that. I don't like that. That's just me.
Is there a Hebrew word for Jesus? I thought that was Joshua.
Nope. Well, kinda.
No? Okay.
But some say Joshua, but Jesus is just how it is in the Greek, and we should stick with what it says. That's all. Hey, there we go. There's a break, buddy. Okay. All right, man. God bless.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, folks, nobody's waiting. If you want to give me a call, all you got to do is dial 877-207-2276. I'll be right back.
It started off as a normal day. I felt fine when I arrived at the plant.
Ruth Junius's life was about to change.
Then I dropped my keys. They kept slipping out of my hand. My arm felt numb. A coworker asked me if I was okay, and I couldn't speak. I started to get scared.
Ruth was having a stroke. People around her weren't sure what to do.
They thought I should go home or lie down, but I knew something was very wrong. I wrote 911 on a piece of paper with my other hand, and someone called for me.
Because everyone acted quickly, doctors at the hospital were able to give Ruth treatment that started to reverse the symptoms.
Within a few minutes, I was talking again. I didn't know a thing about stroke before I had one. Now I make sure that my friends and family know all the signs of stroke so they'll get help fast if they need it.
No stroke. Know the signs. Act in time. Call 1-800-352-9424 for more information. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, National Institutes of Health.
What does it mean to walk with God?
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, Last Words of Jesus.
One of the godliest men in the Bible was Enoch. We meet him in Genesis 5. We meet him in Hebrews 11. We meet him in Jude, verse 10. But who was Enoch? And why doesn't it describe him as being a man who tried to be like God, a man who followed the rules, a man who tried to do to please God? No, it says this. Enoch walked with God. Hebrews 11 says he pleased God. This was a man who in Jude preached for God to an evil culture. What was the difference about Enoch? He walked with God and he was not. God took him. What a great picture. Are you out there trying to be godly and do godly things and do righteous things? Or are you walking with God? Get with God. You'll never be the same.
True Commentary with Stu Epperson, author of the book, Last Words of Jesus. Available now in bookstores. Learn more at lastwordsofjesus.com.
You know, honey, I think I deserve some kind of reward.
Here, have a pickle.
Thanks. After all, I did find us the perfect house.
Have another pickle.
Thank you.
But remember, then I found out how much our house was going to cost.
Yeah, but then I found us the perfect mortgage. Got any more of these?
Sure, help yourself. But then I found out our perfect house had radon. The stuff you can't see, smell, or taste. And it's radioactive. And it's the second leading cause of lung cancer. Some dream house.
Yeah.
I need 2 pickles.
True. But then I found a phone number to call, 1-800-SOS-RADON, where you can get all the information you need to test and fix a home with a radon problem.
You did.
Yeah. And then I found out we were going to have a baby. So, you know, your study, it'd be a perfect room for my mother.
Right. Now I need a phone number to fix a home with a mother-in-law problem.
Hey.
I'm in a pickle. Did you say baby?
Do we have any ice cream?
Protect your family from radon. Make your home safer. Call 1-800-SOS-RADON.
It's Matt Slick Live, taking your calls at 877-207-2276. Here's Matt Slick.
All right, everyone. Okay, so we got the last 12 minutes or so of the show. If you want to give me a call, we have 5 open lines, 877-207-2276. All right, so let's get into a little bit of hate mail because, hey, it's Friday. Your views on the Trinitarian doctrine is a bit narrowed and seem to be more philosophical. You seek to appeal to minds by using logic rather than facts. Now, you know, I enjoy statements like this because they're not logical. So if you have a fact, then you have to use logic to discuss the fact. You can't discuss a fact without using logic. If a fact exists, like, say, a parchment in a jar, it's a fact. Well, then you're saying parchment, you're saying jar, you're saying location, you're presupposing the laws of logic, law of identity, law of non-contradiction, and you're using deduction and inference to make conclusions. This is all necessary when you have facts. Facts cannot be understood without logic. So 2 + 2 is 4. Now that we can understand that because we understand what 2 is, because that's the law of identity. 2 is a 2. It's something. It's what we recognize. It has existence, nature. Plus is a concept of addition. We get that concept, and we have something called equality or equalness or summation, and then another value called 4. We see an interrelationship of identities in relation to addition with something of equality. This is all logically based, and it's with us in our mind. It's so quick. We don't even think about it. 2 + 2 is 4. All right, so you can't have a fact 2 without having some form of logic associated with it. 2, for example, necessitates the classical law of identity. Something is what it is not what it is not. Okay, it is identical to its properties. So 2-ness, which is an abstract entity, is not something that can be written down and thus destroyed. If you write the number 2 on a piece of paper, then destroy that piece of paper, 2-ness is not destroyed. Instead, what you've done is destroy a symbolic representation of a universal concept. That's all you've done. The universal concept is not destroyed. And then a universal concept is important because you can think of the number 2 and I can also. Because of that, the quality and the issue of 2-ness exists independently of your mind and my mind. Because if your mind dies and my mind dies, 2-ness does not disappear. Other people know about it and can come in contact with the thing called a universal, the quality of 2-ness, and it has this property. And so because 2-ness is a universal, it's not dependent upon physical things. Because if it was dependent upon physical things and the physical things disappeared, then 2-ness would disappear. Instead, 2-ness is an abstraction that occurs in the mind. 2-ness is universal abstraction, hence a universal mind. Simple stuff, okay? And so these are the kinds of things that we do with logic. We think and we apply logic with facts. Now, logic can only exist ultimately because God himself exists. Because logic is a reflection of the character of the Trinitarian mind. Now, I say Trinitarian because God is a Trinity. And within the Trinitarian context, God exists. And he is one and many. He is one being and many persons. One being, 3 persons. He's an entity, a being who has the quality of oneness and manyness within his essence. It's called the issue of the one and the many. Now, the number 2, for example, has a quality of oneness, not in the numeric sense, but in it's one thing. And it can manifest in different locations, in different ideas, in different ways. And number 2, like the number 3, or circle, or square. These are triangularity. These are concepts that we are familiar with that have universal applicability because if we were to travel to Mars or to Alpha Centauri, the idea of triangularity is still true. But the location that we are in does not give actuality to triangularity or numerics or anything. These are things that exist, and yet they are mental. They're abstract things. So I'll take a triangle, for example. Triangularity is a concept. You can understand triangularity, and I can understand triangularity. We can understand circularity, a circle. We can understand these concepts. So there's many instances of triangularity. There are many instances of circularity. They exist all over the place. They're called particulars. Particular manifestation of a triangle here or a circle there, in your house and my house. Your clock might be in the shape of a circle, and the clock in my wall is in the shape of a circle. In fact, the glass in my hand has an opening that is a circle. And so we have circles manifested in different places at different times. Those are called particular instances of the universal. Now the question then becomes, what unites the particulars with the universals? It's a serious question. Because if we want to say that a particular instance of a circle, like the circle that embeds the glass that I'm holding in my hand, the circular opening, is that the universal itself on this glass? Well, of course not. Because the circleness exists outside of me holding this manifestation of a circle in my hand, in the representation of this glass. So then, if you have a glass with a circular opening, and you drink out of that glass, and you understand circularity, as do I, we have particular manifestations of circularity in different places. Well, what unites your circle with my circle? What is the ultimate thing that brings them together? It has to be the universal idea of circularity. Well, that means then that the idea of circularity is the ultimate. which would mean then that there's nothing beyond it, that in this particular narrow view of what a circle is, we understand its actuality and we say, well, that's what a circle is. And we're seeing particular manifestations. What unites my circle with your circle to the universal? Because we could see direct representation between mine and the universal and yours and the universal. But how about yours to mine? Because if yours to mine is a manifestation of circularity, we recognize it, then we're saying in the horizontal between human minds, there's an actuality that exists. And that's a problem because it implies that our minds become the ultimate. I know I'm getting complicated. So what is it? What must be in place in order for the idea, I'll stick with circularity, to have its universal characteristic property that can be recognized by individual minds? What is the ultimate? Well, let's just say for now that the ultimate is the circleness quality. Okay, let's just say that's the case. Well, then what must be in place for circularity to have its universal truth value? What must be the condition that gives circularity its universality? Remember, circularity is a concept of the mind, and we identify certain physical manifestations or particulars. And so the implication is there's a universal mind behind them, just like a universal mind behind mathematics. The number 2, triangularity, or upness or downness. These qualities that are abstract entities, abstractions that imply a universal mind. The Trinity has both unity and diversity, one and many, universals and particulars, embedded within the very nature of God. And by assuming the Trinitarian view, we then can make sense of the universals and the particulars. We would say the reason this circle of your glass, the circle of the opening of my glass, those same things are circles, have actuality is because God gave them actuality because they reflect the universality of his mind, who knows all truths. So he knows what circles are, and we're made in his image and we can apprehend them. If you have a being who's only one person, then you don't have the one and the many as a fundamental characteristic of his essence, and the fundamental nature of the universe then would have to be employed as a one and the many property, which gives problems because it's impersonal. And how do you have impersonal things that give the universal abstractions which require minds? Yeah, this stuff gets deep, and I know a lot of you probably right now are having brain fog and are saying, you just ruined my entire weekend. Thank you very much, Matt. But this is the kind of stuff I talk about with atheists sometimes, and it gets pretty heady. And let's just say this, that without the Trinitarian God, you can't justify anything. You can't justify facts. To deny the truth of Christianity is a counterclaim, and people do that. To say that, whatever exists, whatever does exist independently is impossible. So how do facts relate to each other? How do facts relate to our environment? All facts have a causal relationship with other facts. And as you go back in time, the number of facts that are before those facts must decrease. And as you go back in time, it decreases to a singular point, the first cause. It's either the case that the first cause is personal, or it's not the case that the first cause is personal. If it's not personal, then it has to have what's called the necessary and sufficient conditions to bring an event to bear. Now, in the physical realm, that's one thing. But what must be in place for universal abstract entities to exist, like circles, circularity, duckness, horseness, carness, blueness? What must be in place for these actualities, these universals to be? Well, since these universals are abstract and they're universal, the implication is a universal mind. That universal mind is God. And it's a Trinitarian God, because only in the Trinity is the one and the many personified. And in the one and the many, we have the precondition to be able to understand how universals, the one, can have many particular manifestations all over the place. And in Christianity, it works. But in other worldviews, it does not. So this is hard to explain because the concepts are difficult. Let's get to whoever this is on calling in right now. Welcome. You're on the air. We only got about a minute and a half.
Yeah, I was just wondering if I love just hearing that description and wanted to re-listen to it with my wife, and just wondering if there's a podcast you have or something that I could get the audio to re-listen to that with my wife.
Sure. All you got to do is go to, where is it, Laura? You can type it in. I think it's, okay, let me do this. It's on, it's on YouTube, Matt Slick Live YouTube, and look for today's show, Matt Slick Live YouTube. We have several ones because people have complained about what I say, like I don't believe in certain politically incorrect or politically correct things, and people turn me in. You can't say that, And so we've had to move around a little bit, and that's fine. And so Matt Slick Live is the YouTube thing, and there might be one or two of them, and look for, August 12th, 2022. Matt Slick Live, 8/12/2022. Okay?
Very good. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
You too, man. God bless, buddy. All right.
God bless you too. Bye.
Okay. I hope that was interesting. Now, the problem is I got to make that, I got to define that, and I got to work all that stuff out so that I can make sure that people can understand those things step by step. I want to be able to do those. And it's not always easy to do because those are tough concepts. Maybe someone could transcribe what I said and send it back to me. I can polish it. All right. Hey, there you go, folks. There's the music. I hope you have a great weekend. May the Lord bless you. And by his grace, I'll be back on the air on Monday. By his grace. I hope you have a great weekend. God bless everybody. We'll see you. Bye. All right. All right. So how many's brains hurt? How many was that tough?
The guy was tough.
What? Oh, you mean the early guy, the first guy with a lot of logic?
Yeah.
He blew it. He just blew it. He didn't know what he's doing.
But I've heard you talk about your logic enough that it doesn't hurt my head anymore.
Okay, good. Yeah. And the first guy, what I could do is set him up. They don't know I'm setting him up, but I'll set him up in some stuff. Sometimes I'll say, so there's only two kinds of logic then, aren't there? We're just being absolute. And they might say, no, that's not true. And I said, yeah, there is. There's only two kinds, classical and all the others, right? The statement's either true or not true, right? That's a classical law, the law of excluded middle. Is it the case? And now they're stuck. I like that. I think my cerebellum traded places with my medulla. So there you go. All right.
Yeah, that guy used to call years ago, and he was quoting from Stanford's philosophical dictionary, and he read a quote or part of it and left out the essential part that disagreed with his position, because I went and looked it up. So he's just sitting there with books and quotes and whatnot, trying to wax philosophical.
Well, you got to give him credit, though. Every now and then he'll call up and he'll say, hey, he was wrong about something. And I respect that. I do. He's done that a few times, and I admire that in him. I do. So, yeah. So, Marlene, you like the rock analogy. Okay, I came up with that rock analogy, and I think it makes things really clear. I think it's like, oh, yeah. The further down you go, the more the influence, and the back in time you go, it has to get narrow to a signal. It makes sense. Leave me some Greg Bonson. That's right. Rather talk flat earth. It's more fun. Flat earth sucks canal water. But how could canal water flow down a hill in a flat earth? Okay, let's see. That logic stuff is hard. Yes, it is. Let's see. Everybody have a great weekend. I gotta be on air tonight. I'm gonna be discussing theology.
In 2 hours.
In 2 hours? Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, also, just to kind of remember, your new YouTube is Matt Slick -Live.
Oh, Matt Slick -Live. Then why didn't you say so?
I did. It took some lag there.
You got to be quicker.
I'm
You have to
not
be right there.
slick.
Just right there. You got
I'm
to just get ready.
Anderson, not slick, okay?
You're not slick. All right. Yeah, I can see that. You're not as slick as me.
No.
All right. But did you guys enjoy that little thing at the end on the laws of logic and stuff? That's hard to work through. It's hard to work through.
Yeah, that the issue of causality is touched upon in your article about the Kalam.
Yes.
I put the link in there, the cosmological argument for God's existence.
Yeah.
You know,
And there's a weakness in that argument.
there is. It only goes so far, but the Kalam brothers were very skillful in their reasoning. But they leave you to the point where the only thing left for you to go back to is the initial cause.
Right. Either personal or impersonal. And, you know, I've had atheists say, nope, there's a third option. Well, great. What is it? I'm not going to tell you. What? Or they'll say, no, it's either personal or not personal. That's not a true dichotomy. Yes, it is a true dichotomy. You know, more and more, I'm just going to say, if you don't get this, we're just done talking. I'm just not going to talk to you because I'm not going to waste my time. It's just too basic. I'll give you a minute or two. After that, we're done. If you don't agree, there's no rationality with you.
Oh, hey, I got a confusion going here. So you're
How to make a sandwich? Mustard on one side, mayo on the other, a little bit of lettuce, grilled
pickles,
some.
onions, cheese, yeah.
A little bit of cheese. Yeah, it depends. It's got to be the right kind of cheese. There's always, I don't really like cheese on sandwiches, but I will say, I think it's mozzarella.
Something's wrong with you. Cheese is good, always.
It just, I don't know. I just never did like it.
But anyway, on your debate or your talk today, so it says at my time, it's going to be at 8 p.m., so that would be your time. And Charlie said it was at 7 p.m., which is his time. But now it's telling me 8 p.m., but it's live in 2 hours, which would make it 7. So I don't know what time it's doing it, Matt.
The calendar, let's see, go to
I
current
did
calendar.
it in the calendar. So
It says 8 p.m.
Well, that's because I did it, and that's what it said for me. But now
Well, then we click the link. There's a link to the video, and
yes,
it says 5 waiting scheduled for August 12th. Doesn't have a time.
Look on the screen. Look on the picture.
Mine has a time on the picture.
Do it on
August 12th at 7 p.m. Lower left-hand corner of the.
Yeah, but 7 p.m. what time? EST? They don't say that stuff.
Mine says 8 p.m. And so Charlie is an hour behind me, so I'm assuming it's consistent that way. It's showing us our time, but yet it's saying it's live in 2 hours, and 8 p.m. my time is not 2 hours away.
I'm really confused.
Me too.
So I don't know what you're talking about because I don't see any date. Where's 7 p.m. on this thing? It says live in 2 hours.
Yeah, and look at the time.
Oh, I see. Oh, on the screen.
What's yours say, Matt?
What it says here says live in 2 hours, August 12th at 8 p.m. They should always give just all you gotta do is take 3 letters: PST, MST, EST.
It's changing with the time zone of where you're looking at it. That's why Charlie says August 12th at 7 p.m. and ours says 8 p.m. But that's
Charlie, yours says?
Mine says 7. So get somebody on the East Coast to go to that link and see if it tells them.
But 2 hours still is not 8 o'clock. Because it just
in 2 hours, that's 7 o'clock.
Right, because as soon as it turned 5 o'clock, it switched and it said live in 2 hours. It used to say 3 hours. So
okay, I'm just going to go 2 hours from now, 7 o'clock.
What does your email say?
I don't know. What email?
Didn't you set it up with an email with him?
I don't know.
Let's see.
Let's see. I'll do it this way.
If I got one.
Okay.
Matthew Christensen says his show's 9 p.m. Central.
So I want to know, can everybody convert it to Eastern time? That's it. Just convert it to Eastern time. Let's see. It's going to join my channel. Blah, 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 blah. Here, I got the email. There it is. Link to the StreamYard. Let me know if you want to 8 p.m. your time. Okay. See, okay. To avoid confusion, what time EST, Eastern time, will does the show start? Some of us are confused. Okay. He says your time, but yeah, I'm emailing him back. So in fact, I'm going to go to the calendar and put in there the StreamYard link so that I can get in there. It's just easier to get to. All right, I emailed him. Let's see what happens. I think I have his cell number. Let me see. We've known each other off and on for a few years. I might have his number.
Randall says his says 10 p.m. on the East Coast.
Okay. Oh, see, that's helpful.
So that would put me at 7 p.m. on my West Coast.
Yeah.
And 8 p.m. here.
Yeah.
See, that's why I always say EST. Everybody can adjust from that. Okay. PST is nice, but EST just works better because that's unfortunately how it works. Okay. All right. 8 p.m. your time. That's what he says. 8 p.m. my time, but that's two hours. No,
that's 3
8
hours
p.m.
away.
3 hours from now. See, this is just gotta do EST and it's all done.
Yeah, there's something weird, and and that's what I wanted to.
Yeah, it is because the email says 8 p.m. my time.
Like I said, and I watched it flip as soon as it turned 5 from live in 3 hours to live in 2 hours. As soon as
I'll be ready in 2 hours. We'll just see.
Isn't that him in the chat right now?
Oh, it is. There he is.
Here's the link to come in. Here's the link right here to come into to the StreamYard. Join us in here.
Kelly,
what are you talking about?
Kelly's in the chat. Kelly.
Oh, he's in our chat.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hopefully he can go to that link and get right in here in the StreamYard.
Yeah. It'd all be solved if it was you just put in Eastern time. Then everybody could have any problems. Yeah. I know I've had this problem before. The same thing. That's why I do Eastern time now. Like we solved it. That was how.
So is it live in 2 hours then, Kelly, or in 3 hours?
Yeah, see, mine says live in 2 hours, which would be 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
But it says August 12th at 8 p.m., which is 3 hours for me.
Right, and that's what everybody is noticing. It's off an hour.
Right. So is Kelly in here in the chat, our chat?
He is on YouTube.
I dropped in the StreamYard link a couple of times for him. I don't know if it transferred over.
It did. I see it, Charlie.
Well, I'm looking at the YouTube link and Carm videos. Let's see. Since day one, what's your specific domain? Kelly. Oh, someone else was typing in, so I don't know if he's there. I don't want to type.
Oh, he says the countdown isn't accurate.
Okay. Oh, so BPA is him. Bringing Perspective Apologetics.
Yes, correct.
10 p.m. Eastern. Solved. So then I have to. So 8 p.m. here, right? That's why I would do in the notes on the calendar.
I think
8 p.m. Eastern, yeah.
I think I changed it on the calendar, didn't I?
Yeah.
I
don't know. It says 8 p.m.
I think I put 10 p.m. Eastern, didn't I? Oh no, I put 8 p.m. Mountain Standard.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What I've found is helpful in, like, for example, in the notes. I'll go in there like right now. 10 p.m. And I just do everything in Eastern time, and that's it. And no problems. So what I'll normally do is take an email, paste it in there. So I have links, I have email stuff, I have information. And if there's any confusion on time, I'll email the person back and say, what time Eastern time? And then I'll put that in there too, and that's it. We're done. So, yeah. Just go with the facts. 7 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. your time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah. All you got to do is Eastern time, problem solved. All right.
Well, I was confused because we have our car meeting, and it's our time on the car meeting. So that's why I did it that way.
Well, also, like in the car meeting, if you open up the car meeting on the calendar, it's opened up and it says weekly on Friday. There's a link and it has specific times in there. And so I didn't have to put like in the text up there 11:30 because it's a common thing, we know it. So I didn't put the time in there. There's a difference. You should play with it. You put all day in there. Click all day. Just do a dummy one all day and see how it goes. And if it's what I'll do all day. In fact, let me do that. So for example, on tomorrow I'll do test, and I'm going to just save it and edit, and I'm going to say it's all day test. Okay. And so I'm going to say test at 6 p.m. Okay, it doesn't really make, what I like to do is this. I always like, in these kind of things, I put the time up front. If I do it this way with using, I think it's the all day feature, then I'll put it in like that. And as you can see it, I got to edit it and make it for the CARM calendar. Yeah, I got to put in the CARM calendar. There we go. And so there, now you can see it. It's 6 p.m. test, and it's in red. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is go in and edit it. And now what I'm going to do is click all day off. I'm going to put 6 p.m. in there because it gives me the option for what times to put in. And it'll say 6 to 6:30, and then I'll hit save. And now you'll see it has two. It says 6 p.m., 6 p.m.
Oh, okay.
So, but you'll also notice the whole highlight is gone.
Right. I noticed to highlight when I put it in there so that you would see it, I had to keep clicking on all day.
Right. So that's why I would do it that way with all day, because then it highlights the color, the whole thing, you can see it. And then I put the time just up in there, just so I could, that's the time it is. Because it doesn't, then it won't put the time in because it's an all day event. Make sense?
Yes.
So that's why I do it that way with those things. So if I go back to all day, then it's red. And so you put that in, and then I go in here, and then I change it to green. That's sage.
Blue to me.
And then there it is. Now it turns to green. Not everybody can see what we're doing here. So that's how we do that. Okay. I prefer the big band across because it stands out so much easier.
Correct.
And I wish that they had that feature. Maybe there's an add-on to Google Calendars where you can do that, because they do have a lot of add-ons. Anyway, so there we go. I'm going to have to delete that thing. Okay. There. 4 p.m. Central European Time. 4 in the morning. It adjusts for 2 hours and 59 minutes. Okay, good. All right, we'll see you then. All right. Okay, good. I'm going to go eat, rest, bother my wife, basic stuff. That's all I'm going to do. Do my counts too, if I haven't done it for the past couple of days. All right. Seems you got internet fixed. Yeah. Except we had an internet problem a couple nights ago in the evening, so it's not done. There's still some problems with our internet that has occurred. It's very unfortunate, but that is the case. Yeah. All right, everybody. Guess I'm going to take off, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I end the broadcast, and I want to ask you a question. Don't quite leave.
Okay. Everybody gets out? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Charlie can say I don't care. But
okay.
I just don't want anybody else.
All right. Let's end this, and then you guys stay in. There we go.